Thank you for joining us today for our next edition of the 49er Industry Chat. As we allow everyone to come in, we're going to wait a couple seconds. Hi, my name is Noemi Guevara, and it's my pleasure as the Director of Alumni Engagement to welcome you to this edition of our 49er Industry Chat. Before we start, we would like to inform you this session is being recorded and it will live on our website on demand at www.csuob.edu/alumni. We also encourage you to use the Q&A box to submit any questions for our guest speaker today. And now I would like to introduce you to our moderator for the chat, Kim Armstrong. Kim is a triple-time alumni, earning a bachelor's and 2 master's degrees in 1988, 1991, and 1994. She currently serves as our Vice President for the CSUOB Alumni Council. Kim, thank you so much for moderating this chat today, and now I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Noemi, and I want to welcome everyone that's joined today. I hear we have quite a large audience, and we have some current students, we have some early career alum, and just really excited that you're all here today, and want to say thank you on behalf of alumni for being here. So this topic for me, when I saw this one come out, I really wanted to be part of this one and help facilitate it. I too, an alum, my undergrad was in radio, television, film, which has morphed into film and electronic arts or film and electronic media. And I really am excited to welcome our industry chat featured speaker today, Brian Gork. Let me tell you a little bit about Brian, but before I do that, I just want to remind you, if you have questions, I do want to make this interactive. So please put your questions in the Q&A box, and then we will be asking those throughout our time today. So Brian, thank you so much, and I'd love to share a little bit about your background. You have worked in the entertainment industry for over 20 years. You have experience in television, commercials, and film, and you made your mark with your most recent project, producing The Last Champion. Brian has taken this experience and applied it to his company, AKS Stages. And, with so many other stages run by corporations, there's kind of that lack of personal connection. And Brian felt that really needed to be filled, which is really unique, I think, in the industry, honestly, about that personal connection with the business side. So he opened a soundstage ran by producers for producers, and has received overwhelming response. And despite COVID, AKS has recently opened a second stage and is looking, I understand, for its third location. When Brian is not producing or running the stage, he enjoys helping others shape their future with his real estate license, and hence the topic today, how film and television and real estate relate. So as a CSUOB alum, Brian has earned his bachelor's degree in film and electronic media. So please give a big beach welcome out there in the virtual world to Brian Gork. Brian, welcome.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
So feel free to dive in, maybe share a little bit about yourself, your background, and we'll start digging in.
Cool. Yeah. So basically, I went to college like everyone else, not certain what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something in the film industry. I took my classes, tried several different things, and immediately started interning and just working for free to get on set. Started out thinking I wanted to be an editor, and was stuck in a dark room by myself, seeing all the most amazing places for the Travel Channel, wishing I was there, and realized I didn't want to edit. So I was like, now let's get onto set, and worked my way up from there. I started just as a production assistant, did some grip, some electric, worked my way up a couple years of art department. And then after kind of working my way up in that department, realized I wasn't really creative enough to design a whole set or anything. So I kind of topped out, and then switched over to be a camera operator. So I could kind of feel like the shows that I was watching were being presented to people through the way my eye saw it, because I'm kind of picking the shot and framing it. And I just felt like I was leaving a mark. So it was really exciting. But I really just got tired of the fact that I was literally just lugging all the gear and everyone could have breaks except for me. It's a lot of work and you really have to love it. And I realized I didn't after doing it for a while. So I got out of that and I produced my first film and I realized that producing was really what I loved doing because I had done every other job. So I knew how they did it, what they needed, and I could be very open with the person as far as just understanding their needs and identifying and not saying, oh, come on, just figure it out, which most producers say, or make it work. You know, it's like, oh no, I've run into that. I totally get it. We need to find a solution. And I think what really was kind of my best part about producing was just being super transparent. And that's, again, that's kind of what this whole thing is about. If you can be open and honest and transparent with people, it's amazing the response and things you get. I would have guys working for me that would come work the job, finish the job, and then ask me after the fact, what was my rate on this? Because they knew I'm going to give them what I had. I'm not going to try to put a buck in my pocket by shaving their rate, making them work hard for less than they deserve. And so I just, and that's how you earn, that respect. And really that translated to opening the stage. Just stages don't understand what we go through as production, what we need, and the way that they run it, and the headache and all the difficulties. We just eliminated them. I would have a soundstage book us for the job and wait to give us, say, oh, you have to use our gear, and wait till the day before to give us gear 4 times the price of what I could rent it for with my first phone call. And you can't change at that point, you're too late. And it's just not fair. And that was happening everywhere, things like that. And they're just, there's just too much shadiness and greed. And, like I said, they're just not transparent. Oh, we'll give you the best deal. We'll give you the best deal. Here, this is the best deal we can give you. And that type of thing. So we open the soundstage. We let people bring in their own stuff. We don't nickel and dime. We don't nitpick. We just include everything. We make it easy. Our first answer is always yes. We have to find a real strong reason why it should be no. And it's gotten a good response. People love it. It's a different vibe. It's more relaxing. It's, it doesn't have to be work. It should be, enjoyable and fun, somewhere that you're not dying to just like get out of. So that was what happened with the soundstage, and that's the same thing with real estate. And that's how I was, really saying that it translated is, I got tired of agents that just didn't seem to know what they were doing and would, just try to get their commission or try to put you in something just, because, it gets it done onto the next guy, or they'd seem like put out that you're asking them to help you when that's like their job, things like that. And so I got my license to just be the agent that wasn't like that. And I really dealt with other agents in a manner that made them say, you're very different. Like, I've never dealt with an agent like you, or have you been doing this long? Because again, very transparent, very open. If I have a client selling a house and someone puts in an offer, I'll just tell them, I'll say, look, this is what my client needs. If you can get there, it gets it done. And if they don't, it doesn't get done. And then when someone else does it, the person that tried to play games will call and say, well, what happened? How come I didn't get it? And I said, I told you this is where it needed to be. Well, we would have done that. I said, but you didn't, and people it's just, there's too much of that. And it's just everywhere. And nobody has time for that. It doesn't solve anything. So yeah, it's just, like I said, really, shows when you're open, transparent, and people love that. And it just, it reciprocates quickly. So that's my biggest advice, is just don't play games and try to hide stuff and get the upper hand. It's not worth getting a few extra bucks and never seeing that client again. That doesn't make sense, but it's how things are done.
Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. And I agree. Transparency in the industry sometimes is a very tricky proposition. I think that's why you've created such an amazing company, and you guys have such a great reputation. I'm getting a lot of questions, so maybe I could start digging into some of those and unpacking it with you.
Sure.
Great. So we received a couple questions about that you were talking about early on, that you were interning quite a bit when you were in school. And the question really is, how did you find those internships? Did you get help through the school, through Cal State Long Beach? A lot of folks are asking, hey, how did you do that? What advice do you have to find internships?
Yeah, so my early internship, one of the internships was actually through the school. That was at Sandstorm Films, and it was that company is actually owned by an alumni. So he was doing the internship program. So I interned there. I drove to Culver City 3 days a week just to help them make a film that they were doing. I got to run to the Sony lot, which I thought was really exciting, to drop things off. Just an early, I was just brand new and everything was fun and exciting. So, so I did that through the school. And honestly, another one, it was just a matter of being very lucky and proactive in that I was working up the street at CompUSA when it was there, the computer store, and they would give away training classes if you put in a business card. And it so happened that the jar that held the business card fell off and shattered to the glass. And so I was cleaning it up to make sure no one cut themselves. And I picked up all the business cards, and one of the business cards was for the head of post-production for Travel Channel. And I was like, oh, I'm going to call this guy. So I literally just called and said, hey, are you looking for any help? I'll work for free, whatever you need. I just want to get experience. And he's like, yeah, come on in. And that was one of the big ones that kicked it off for me. That was just very lucky, but also very proactive because, I could have just thrown it in the jar and been like, whatever. So, So, there's several ways. Obviously through school, it is helpful, but it's tough now with COVID just because of how sets are smaller and they're a little more tight run. But no one's going to ever turn down free work. And if you're willing to show your value, they're going to immediately want to pay you because they don't want you to go away. And so it's, if you find a place and you're proactive to just say, what can I do to help out? Let me show you what I can do. There's nothing embarrassing because they're going to be like, wow, this is amazing. This person really wants to do this. And that's what I did. And I did it for a while for several companies. But as soon as you get that first paycheck, it's literally just to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's just, you're going up a staircase. So it's just being proactive, really. You can look companies up and just cold call them, and you'll probably land one faster than you think. So.
Oh, that's really keen. That's really good advice. I'm sure somebody is probably going to ask in the chat box. So I'll just ask: do you all offer internships, and would you take some folks to work for free? Not to put you on the spot.
No, absolutely. So I still produce. The main, like when I'm doing like commercials or music videos or TV shows, like that type of stuff, I'm always looking for people because I have just more opportunity to put them on set and everything. On the stage, it's a little different. I can get people in right now because you have to be tested. It's a little difficult, but I can get people in so they can see what the departments are doing. But as far as working with them, it probably wouldn't fly just because of COVID. So there's a little bit of that song and dance, but if I'm producing and I'm in charge and stuff, I can put somebody in and give them a task and let them intern for sure. And definitely, I don't know if I think my contact is on here somewhere, but I'm more than open to anyone emailing, even if you just have a question later, or you are looking to intern. It may not be immediately, but when the opportunity is there, I'm happy to have it. I've had plenty of people do it. And honestly, if day 2 of you interning, I see your value in that, you're doing, you'll be getting paid anyway. It's just a no risk to say that, hey, you don't have to pay me. And, but it's, if you prove your worth, people are immediately, you feel guilty. You're like, oh my God, this person's amazing. So yeah.
Wow.
So if I have the opportunity, I'm always happy to have people that are eager to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. So kind of as a level set too, and perhaps I should have asked you this piece first, but thanks for clarifying that. We have had a question come in, and again, with the chat, we have a lot of different, participants from all different backgrounds. So there is some curiosity about what does a producer do, and what does a typical day or a typical project look like?
Gosh, I don't know if producers have what I would call a typical day, but I can certainly tell you what they do. So essentially, early on as a producer, you're given usually a script or storyboards, depending on what the project is, if it's, or both, of what they want to do and a budget. And then you basically have to see if that budget will accomplish what they're asking to do by, if it's union, you have to make sure the rates cover the people, but then if you don't have enough for a large enough crew, then you need to figure out how to scale back. And so basically your job is to keep a project on budget and on time, but somehow deliver this crazy wish list that the director always has that's more than you can really accomplish. So you're kind of juggling every department. You're in charge of keeping on schedule where you're shooting so you don't go into overtime and cost money. You literally handle all of the hiring of everybody, negotiating rates with them, all that sort of thing. And then you have a coordinator typically that handles kind of the little things, like you say, hey, we need lunch every day, find a caterer, they'll find it and book it. So you don't have to do it, but you know that it's booked, so you have to make sure all the little boxes are checked so that you don't not have lunch that day, but you don't have to do that, that particular task. But you basically have your fingers in everything. And then, yeah, a typical day is essentially just trying to get everything running and then solving problems. It's just there's always something to solve. But honestly, if you are pulling your hair out and working really hard, when the shoot comes, you should have people on set saying, "What do you even do? You don't do anything." Because if you've done your job, it looks like you do nothing. If you're running around solving problems on set and look stressed out, you did not do your job ahead of time. So that's the key, is to make people think that you don't do anything when they finally see you.
Yeah, and I can really now see, right, why relationships and being transparent and being straightforward and being kind and with different different groups or people or businesses is really a good competency or a good value to have as a producer, because you are working everywhere with all different folks. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. So here's another question someone wondered. So how did you know, or maybe what was the moment you decided that you were ready to move to be a producer? And, when did you realize you wanted to produce your own film? There's a few other pieces to that, but we'll start with that. I think the other part of it is how did you learn all that, right? How did you learn all the things you need to do to be a producer? Because I don't think there's a checklist.
No, not really. I think as far as learning it, it kind of answers both questions. Is I really tried everything on the ladder up to producing. I did every task. I liked it up to a point, and then realized that I had capped out. Unless I wanted to make that all that I did and really dive full force into it, I needed to find something else, or I'd just be unhappy in one position forever. So that's why I kind of bounced around. And like I kind of used for the art department aspect, what was interesting was I was the lead man for art department, which basically means you have a production designer that designs the whole set and puts together, all the vendors and everything, has it built, but then he hands it off to you. And then you hire the crew, you coordinate getting the set there, making sure it goes up on time, who's on painting, who's on, set assembly, who's on flooring. And you're managing your own micro little kind of art crew. And you're also managing his budget and giving people, their petty cash to go on runs and making sure that basically it falls within the art budget. So it's like mini producing. And so what happened was the art director said, "Hey, if I get double booked, will you take the job? You're my right-hand guy." And that's when I said, "Well, I'm not creative. I can't design a set. I can incorporate your design and get it done and keep you on budget." And I was like, "Oh, that's producing." So I kind of took that next step to basically saying, "Well, why don't I do this, but for every department, because I enjoyed the managing and the challenge of juggling, just the scheduling and putting all the pieces to the puzzle together." But to actually produce the one thing I'll say that like the takeaway quote, one of my favorite things I've heard in this industry was just be careful how you treat people, because you never know who your boss is going to be next year. And it's just very true that I was just, doing, like I said, grip and electric, art department, those sorts of other things. And there was a Long Beach State alumni that was in charge of the they do like one give back program a year at this time at Universal Studios, and they give one student film a chance to film their project on the backlot at Universal Studios. And we got picked because the person in charge of it was really interested, because she was a Long Beach State alumni, and so we kind of got at least a good pitch to her with that, and she let us do it. And so I got some friends together and we made our first film. We just went and did it. We just made a feature there because we had the support at Universal. We all begged, borrowed, and got any way we could get money that we, could find to just scrounge up enough to try and do it. And from that moment on, anyone I called who I used to work for, I'd tell them, "Hey, I just produced a feature." And their response is, "Oh my gosh, well, can you produce my next infomercial?" Not give me a resume or what else have you done. It's literally, I took the step, kind of did it, felt confident. And honestly, another colleague of mine, who was really, really talented at every department, told me, "Say yes. And if you don't know how to do the job, I'll explain it to you. You can always reach me on the phone. Don't turn it down. You're going to learn something." And it's scary sometimes, but yeah, I really just took the step and went for it. And you have to, in film, I do find you have to kind of move laterally. You have to almost leave a company and then call them back up and say, "This is what I'm doing now," and they'll let you do it. But if you are gripping for somebody and then say, oh, I want to produce next week, obviously they're going to be like, yeah, that's not what you do. So there is a little bouncing around, but I mean, I have the same clients that have seen me in all the different roles as I kind of bounce around. So yeah.
That's great. That's great, solid advice. So we have a question around what is the biggest difference when a soundstage is run by producers for producers, and what is your biggest selling point to attract clients away from those other traditional stages?
So our biggest, well, the biggest selling point is simple, because, and this also part of the producer thing is just that, because when I produce, I'm managing so many little things on a budget. Typically when you go into a normal sound stage, they'll say, oh, you can use our stage for $1,200 for the day. Wow, it's a great deal. And then they're like, yeah, come, we'll put you down, we'll get you all booked. And then they send you an estimate, and you look at the estimate, it's 500 for air conditioning, 500 for power, 500 for parking, 350 for a stage manager, a 12-hour day, like all these limitations. And what we did, just to make it easy on producers and their budgets, is we say, look, if you book our sound stage, it's X amount, which is higher than other sound stages, but in that amount, you get power, air conditioning, 2 scissor lifts, stage manager, all of our production supplies, table, chairs, pop-ups, everything, all the parking's included. You get a 14-hour day. Just literally, we make it so that when you come into the sound stage, you're not like, oh, don't use the air conditioner, that'll cost 500. It's like, no, be comfortable. Don't hesitate to use it. We want you to leave happy. And the other sound stages, when you leave, they give you this big bill, and you leave, you're like, oh, now I owe $12,000. Like, what am I, and when we leave, our goal is to hopefully be like, hey, thanks for coming, see you on the next one, and that's it. We don't want, because if you leave with a bad taste, you're not coming back. We want them to leave like, what happened? That's it? Oh, that was okay, And so we really kind of changed up the nickeling and diming. We don't, little things, even just stages that charge as soon as you get there, they start the clock. And like we tell people, if you need to use the outdoor area to COVID test or do things before you go inside the stage, we'll wait till we open the doors to start your clock, so you're not on overtime and paying all this extra money. We don't need a person standing in the parking lot with you, So just little things like, we just don't try to do the bait and switch, which I think there's a lot of. So that's it. And that's, I think also, like I said, what producers really like is they can put a number down in their budget and then not have to hold back a chunk in case, later. It's just, they know this is what it costs and we're good.
Wow. That's amazing. That is not the general experience. So, wow. Wow. So I want to go back when you were talking before about, you worked for free a bunch, and, then you eventually started getting paid. There's a question about what are the steps to take when you're ready to stop working for free and to start to charge or be compensated in a really respectful way.
Yeah, I mean, essentially there's 2 ways about it. One is you can just work for free, for a little bit at a couple places, and then you have basically a resume or some IMDb credits or whatever. Then you can just go after a job and say, this is what I've done, this is my experience. For me, the working for free is only necessary if you're like, well, I've never done this, I've only been to film school. It's like, all right, well, you've never been on an actual set, let's get you on one. And then, if you like it and you know what you're doing and I can pay you, then, I would move you up to that anyway. So the real steps are either just work for free and then leave to build yourself essentially a resume, because then when you apply, you have something to point at. So because if you have a resume and you come to me and say, hey, I want a PA, I'll be like, oh, that's great. But really, what I find a lot of people do is, if you work for free, as for instance, like a PA, even if you work like in the sound department as like a sound PA or whatever, if it's a specific department or not, be a nice person and try. And the other people you work with that are getting paid for what you're doing are going to call you for their next job. Hey, we need another PA. Are you available? Here's the rate. And I see it all the time. And that's the thing. It's like, it's a close-knit community, and people you work with call you for that job. I mean, I'll call usually a department head and say, hey, you can get 4 guys, and they get their guys. I don't ask for resumes. It's their guys. They're not going to want someone that's going to make their life difficult. So you just need those, I hire the key personnel. So if you can just get on set and meet people, that's going to do everything for you. You don't have to necessarily be telling the producer you want to get paid, because you're just going to get pulled onto a new job with a new producer that doesn't know you from the next guy, but you know what you're doing and your buddy wants you there and you get paid. So it's networking, meeting people, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So back to the business of a soundstage. There's a question about, now that you own, it sounds like several sound stages. How do you balance, sorry, my question just bounced up. How do you balance the management aspect, like running the business while still doing what you love and producing and doing your own films and commercials? How do you balance all that?
So I'm very selective on what I produce now. Since it's not my main source of income, I can kind of pick jobs with people that I like working with, or because I like the project. Like this last film I did, The Last Champion, was because it was something that was more family friendly and kids can watch. And if you see some of these other ones behind me, I've done a ton of horror and crime, and I was just done with that. It's just, there's enough bad in the world being shown. So when I get like a project that really speaks to me, or that I want to do, that's fun, I'll take it. And if just having the ability to say no, I think is what really helps. I don't have to take everything, and if I'm not available or it's too much, I just don't. And I kind of balance it that way. For the stage with COVID, it's almost been easier for me, because I used to really want to go in and be personable, meet everyone, meet the clients, make sure they're okay. Now they want to be left alone, because they don't want the added personnel, they don't want other exposure. So really for me, running a stage is just having all the calls directed to my cell phone, so I can talk to the people, let them know who we are, get them booked, let them know they can reach out to me directly if they need anything. And it's really just phone calls to a cell phone, no matter where I am, even if I'm producing. So that makes that very kind of easy, because that aspect of being the face kind of got removed from COVID. So I'm sure it'll be back at some point, and it'll be a little harder to juggle. And then obviously selling homes, it's you can build that around whatever your schedule is. You can off hours or certain days off or whatever, just take people and show them, or be looking online and sending stuff, which obviously, again, another thing COVID's kind of changed, so it's
Right.
but yeah, it's so much being virtual and just juggled by phones and computers and emails has really been what's allowed me to do so much. So, and I just always have to be doing something. I can't just sit around. So.
Yeah, exactly. So you talked about being able to, have a little bit more choice in the things that you want to do. Would you be willing to share what your favorite film or show is that you've ever worked on?
Oh yeah, that's actually an easy one. I was doing a show for Bravo. This was some time ago, maybe probably a good 10 years or something ago, but it was the show was the 100 greatest TV characters of all time. So basically every day we'd get a call sheet with who we got to meet that day. And it was like, it would just be a crew, just three of us. Myself, I was doing audio at the time, our DP cameraman, and makeup, and then a director, so four of us. And the four of us would go to the celebrity's house or wherever they wanted to meet or whatever. We'd interview them about their show, their character, whatever. We'd interview the show creators. We turn the camera off and get all kinds of just behind the scenes talk, things they wanted to tell us about. So basically, yeah, it was just, anyone you could ever want to meet, you got to meet. And it was just, I remember when we went to interview Matt and Trey from South Park, they're like, hold on a second, come sit here. And they recorded an episode while we sat there, and we got to watch that. And we interviewed, we were interviewing William Shatner at his office, and he sat down in the director's chair and it immediately tipped back, and he did one of those, like, put your arms and legs out. And like, we all turned bone white. Like we were going to, break his neck, and he just kind of wobbled and fell forward. And we're like, okay, we still get to work today. Like, just little things like that. And we just have just tons of stories of, how much fun. And they're, the majority of them were great. There weren't a lot of disappointments or anything. So for me, that show was just great, because it was just literally, I'm getting paid to just meet everyone I could want to meet and get, all kinds of great stories and fun. So, you can't beat that. That's like, I don't know how that's even a job. So.
Yeah, exactly. That I probably would have lost track of what I was doing if I was trying to work just listening to that. Wow. That's awesome. I'll have to go look for that. I do remember that show, but now I want to see if I can go back and get it on demand, because now I want to.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Who number one was, so now I can't remember. I want to know. I would love for them to do an update. Maybe there's another project for you.
Right? Yeah.
There you go.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting other questions about So how did you negotiate your first producer offer?
It was really just kind of knowing day rates, from all the other positions I did, and I kind of knew essentially just like the range of where it would fall and what I was willing to take. So I mean, it's really just a matter of, what you're really negotiating when you produce is not necessarily your rate as much as the number of days they're giving you. Because essentially, if you're getting, X amount for 10 days versus a little bit less for 20 days, it's like, well, it's kind of more money in as a whole. So it's like you have to, and sometimes, the job requires the more days. So it's, even if you take the less days with more pay, they're still going to call and bother you. You still have needs. It just doesn't really wrap up. So it's a little different industry in that respect, where you just have to make sure that you're compensated on both kind of rate and days, because that makes a big difference. And then also just that it's a doable budget. I always tell clients, and I've even done this with people that I'm hiring when I give them a rate, and that's, make yourself free, save me some, whatever I'm paying you, save me that much. And then your rate's very justified. It's like, because you're, as a producer, you're bringing your connections and your discounts and your, all the companies and people you work with. And that's really the difference. If you're paying someone a lot of money, but they're getting you, your trailer cut for half what you paid last time, it's like suddenly, they've just paid for themselves, and that's the role of a producer, is to really, if you come in on or under budget, whatever your rate was worth it, because that's the goal. So it's your responsibility to deliver. And after you do that once, you can also probably command a little higher rate, if you know that you'll deliver. So.
Yeah. So you've talked quite a bit about networking, and that networking is really important. What are some must-dos for someone who wants to break into the industry?
Again, I think whenever you are on set or doing anything, like if you get the opportunity, it is hard to get on set. Other than, like I said, interning is the easiest way to do it. Honestly, even if you want to be an actor, if there's anyone out there who wants to be an actor, get on set interning on the crew. I've been in several shows. I don't want to act, but they need somebody, and you're there, you volunteer, you meet, you see what they're doing. You get volunteered for stuff a lot when you're on set. It's amazing. You would be surprised. But yeah, I think it's really just having a good attitude. Because I've worked with many people who have said that you can teach a skill, but you cannot teach attitude. And so if someone doesn't know how to do something, but they have a great attitude, I'm more than happy to help them do it. Even if they mess up or whatever, honestly, most of the time, if you do mess up, that's the one thing you'll never make a mistake on again, because you'll always know what you did wrong and you'll do it right. Sometimes that's the best learning, is to mess up. But having a bad attitude, you'll be gone. Nobody wants to work with you. You'll go nowhere, and that's it. Just a quick lesson from what I learned was, I was on a job where I took a rate that was lower than I wanted to be paid. And I was on the job, and by day 2, I was grumbling about it. And the director of photography on the job asked me, he said, "Oh, who forced you to take this job?" And I was like, "Well, nobody." He's like, "So you chose to take it?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Quit your grumbling." And I was like, and that was it. I never did it again, because I could have said no. And I tell people when I'm producing, I say, "Look, the rate I have, if it's too low, I'll call you on the next one. I won't be mad. Just say no, because I don't have any room for you being unhappy. I'll find someone that's happy with this rate, and if I have more on the next one, I'll still call you." And that's what I tell them, because it's just that's very just key. You have to just have the right attitude. So
that's awesome. So along these same lines around networking, are there any professional or networking groups that you might recommend to our audience today?
There's trying to think what I would have used, because there are some like online stuff, like production resource groups. I just don't really, I'm not in them anymore, because I don't, but I know you can find them, because there were some where they would just say like, "Hey, looking for a PA, looking for this, looking for that." And you could, just respond, and you can get in that way. I don't know the exact ones, but I'm sure you could find it pretty easy if you do a search. But yeah, just some sort of like production resource group, I think, or something like that it was called. And you can join those and get on stuff.
I do remember back in the day, the Hollywood Reporter was required reading in one of the classes, and any and everything we ever needed to try or do, you could always figure it out through the Hollywood Reporter or Variety. They were always had little ads in the back and connections, so always a good one. So again, along the advice theme here, what advice would you have for someone just starting out in the entertainment industry, and maybe they're not quite sure they know what their specialty is or which direction they want to go? What advice might you have?
I mean, again, that's why I started by being a production assistant. Because you have to do things like setting up tables and chairs, or carrying stuff or taking out trash, which obviously we all know how to do. It's not difficult, so you know that it's going to be easy to do. But because you're kind of there to do those things, you have access to every department, so you can kind of meet. If I think I like audio, but I don't know if I do. You can maybe kind of go hang out by the audio department, or ask like, hey, is there anything I can get you guys? Need some water, whatever. And suddenly they're like, oh no, and you get a little talk going. I mean, I've when I started out, I just asked a mixer about his board. I was like, geez, there's so many knobs on here, like how do you, and he was so excited to get to tell me about it. And then like he would just want to show me, and it was like that simple. It's like he would have taken me under his wing to do audio with him on anything, because it's fun to see someone that's eager and wants to do something. So and you may not like it after you do. Maybe like, well, this is a headache. There's this is not what I thought it was. I mean, honestly, anyone who's stood on set with their arms up like this, I mean, I knew quickly I didn't do that. I'm like this, I'm not built for this. So and some people love it, so you just have to try it. And like, I mean, I did everything. I thought I wanted this, and then I thought that, and so it's like, don't get discouraged, but don't do something that you're like not excited about, because there is going to be something. You just have to keep trying different things, and they're all on set, and they're all you're leaving your mark, you're making a film. I mean, it's it's all still exciting. So just try.
Absolutely. Curiosity, right? And willingness and so a couple other questions. Some curiosity about what percentage of your time now are you spending as a real estate agent?
Well, since COVID, very little. I only did 3 transactions last year, which was still pretty decent, but I've kind of stepped back on it with COVID, because I don't like the idea of trying to put someone in a house that they haven't seen. I know now they're doing more where you get to walk through and everything, but having the open house and getting to meet people that are looking at it and things like that is a very different experience than what's going on now. So I've really kind of stepped back for now, but I'd love to get back into it. But for me, it was always I started out just doing it for friends and family. And what happened from that was, because I did a good job and they had a friend, they're like, can you do this for my friend? And I'm like, well, okay. And so, because I was happy to do it. And I like that, like I said in the kind of bio there, is you're kind of helping someone make a decision that, I mean, some people, it could be 20, 30, 40 years, that's their surroundings and where they are and those businesses and those things. And it's like, it's really rewarding to know you put them somewhere like, man, I'm so lucky. I had no idea how great it was to be this close to a park or whatever, something they didn't think of that you did. So it's rewarding in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, I'd say probably 2 or 3 transactions a year is really kind of it for now, just to kind of stay up on it and get to do it. And but I mean, if my phone was ringing off the hook, I would try to do all of them. I don't like to say no, but yeah, it's just kind of a small part. So, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, and along those lines, there's a question around work-life balance. How are you doing, or what are some things you do there?
Yeah, I feel like maybe I just don't sleep, but it's tough, but it's so hard, because I feel like every answer has a pre and post COVID response. But
Exactly.
but yeah, no, I have pretty structured life because of being a producer. I think my kids probably think I'm a little bit of a Nazi, and just like, they get up at the same time every day. They sit down for breakfast at the same time. They're getting dressed by the same time, so they can be in front of their Zoom for school at the same time. And it's just, but that structure is just how I've always been. But it allows me to make sure that they're ready, they're on time, no one's stressed out. As soon as they start school, I get my computer out, I start doing work. I think the only kind of thing that they've had to learn is anytime my phone rings, I take it. So I could be in the middle of something, whatever. and I'm sure they don't love that, but I have to answer every phone call. That's the one downside that I have to juggle. But yeah, I mean, I just make sure that I block out, we have our meals at mealtime, just have that structure and stick to it. And, I mean, it's better to have, a basic structure and stick to it than some amazing goal that you never stick to, so it's just, so yeah, we just, try to balance it. It's, I think I do pretty good though.
Yeah, that's schedules are always helpful. Keep everybody on point. It allows you to do so much more, because you're not. Yeah.
Well, and also I think it helps that like what I do, I really love. So when I'm on set and meeting people and hanging out and helping with stuff like that, to me is also. I mean, I like to get out and do stuff, especially like if I'm taking the kids on trips or whatever. Like I enjoy that, but really at work, I'm also doing what I enjoy. I would, if I wasn't being paid and had the opportunity to still do it, I'd still want to help out and do it. So that's kind of my time. So I kind of get double up on that, which helps, I'm not, so.
Yeah, that way you can be fully present in everything.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So a few last questions we have. I can't believe how quick our time is going. Very personal question. One of our viewers would like to know, are those posters behind you from your films? I know The Last Champion is, but the other two behind you.
So yeah, The Last Champion is this one, Lore. It's actually that was the first film done by Investigation Discovery, which I did do. We shot it in San Diego, most of it in San Diego, and some of it in Whittier. And I think they changed the name of it to, I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was a true story of Richard Chase.
Yeah.
So it was in one of those. And then but yeah, both of those are one of the posters that you don't see. Pelt was a horror film that I recently did. The other big one, this one over here is not. That's just a poster that I liked, and it's just like, it was like a bus stop size poster that when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's like the whole wall. I had to get it. So I love like just the film vibe and that stuff. But yeah, the two behind me, and then I have some others that aren't in frame that are. So I like to ideally, have mostly stuff that I've done. Just it's rewarding to to have around.
Yeah, it's nice. I love The Last Champion. That was so wonderful. It came out at a really good time, I think, for everybody. So yeah, great film. Okay, a couple last questions. Is there a director you hope to work with in the future?
It's interesting. And I think another kind of benefit to what I do is just that I don't really I don't have a huge desire of certain people to work with, and I don't get like starstruck. I think because I've been around it enough to where even when we opened our first stage, we'd have people come in and the person like they would tell us that somebody just walked in, it's amazing. I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like I had no idea, and they're always like blown away. But I just enjoy like what I'm doing. Like this, The Last Champion was with the director was Glenn Withrow, who was in The Outsiders, and like he's been around. He's done a lot of stuff. His wife is Hallie Todd, who was I didn't know who any of them were when I met them to make this movie. It was through literally a sound mixer that I knew recommended me to produce. That's how you never know where your next job. And I sat down with them, and to me, they were just two people that wanted to make a movie, so
yeah,
nobody that I'm dying to work with. It's more about the projects. Like I wanted to do it because of the film. It was rewarding. It was something my kids could watch. I was proud of it. I'd much rather do something that I can put on the shelf and be proud of than say I worked with so-and-so disaster movie or whatever. So.
All right, last question before we do our wrap. So what's your next dream project, or maybe something that you haven't done yet in the industry?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think what I'd like to do is just kind of really make even more of a change to how I changed the industry with stages, and that we're really thinking about kind of getting like other aspects of like Airbnbs or other things like that we can also, for one, offer to people who like come regular, like, hey, have a free stay, Or, hey, we also now have this as a location you can film at if you need a house or if you need to be on a beach. So we like to start incorporating more outside elements from just the stage that we can link with the stage, and then kind of make people more of a family and make it more kind of a rewarding, and look at all the options we have when we're working with these guys. And so it's just more of a fun interaction than a business and just like, oh, this person, and then you just see them like, a turnstile. So really, I just really like to turn like stages into like more of just like a just like kind of a whole unit of opportunity to, because I like producing in films, and it's, I mean, if you have 3-4 different types of locations and a stage, you can make almost any movie, so that would be really exciting for me to be able to just provide almost every location for a whole film, and just be able to help someone make their dream film, because we have the ability.
That's awesome. That's a great way to end. Is there anything else you might want to add before we wrap today?
No, I mean, I think, like I said, the main things that I wanted to touch on was just to be very proactive, to have a good attitude, and to just make sure that you interact with people, knowing that they could, everybody's important. I mean, even as a producer, I would go on jobs and I would let the production assistants come up to my hotel if we were on location, if we were all just hanging out chatting. And it was fine. And I've had, the production assistants have said, I've never hung out with a producer before, I feel weird. And I'm like, we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. So I think just, like I said, it's just a different attitude. And that was the whole kind of point of the interaction between all the different things I do. And the title of this whole presentation was just, it's really just, and I think people are seeing that a lot now, just treat people better, I mean, I've worked with so many people that are just jerks and don't know that I'm producer until after they were a jerk to me. It's always interesting when they find out, but yeah, so yeah, just be proactive and be a nice person, be transparent, it'll pay in dividends.
That is great. This has been fantastic, Brian. Thank you so much for taking this time today. I mean, everything you shared is like gold, and I'm looking forward to playing this back, and this will live on. So thank you so much. It was really an honor to have this opportunity to ask you all these questions, and for you to share this with our participants today. So thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, and I'm around if anyone, like I said, I'm reachable, and I'm happy to give advice still or answer questions.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, I'd like to turn it back to Noemi. So Noemi, thank you. Pretty awesome.
Thank you, Brian, for all your advice to our current students and our alumni that'll be watching this later on. Kim, great job as always. Thank you so much. And if anyone wants to get in contact with Brian, please feel free to email us and we will connect you with Brian offline. Thank you everyone for joining us today. As a reminder, please follow us on social media to learn about future chats like this. We thank you for your time and have a great day.
And Brian, if you can just give